What's up everybody, Damian back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs. Kong news roundup. This one we're not jumping forward a month, we're covering a bunch of missed news over the past couple months. I don't know how it slipped through the cracks, but it somehow did. But we're going to cover that and then move on. Alright, starting out, now I'm gonna be honest, I don't find Godzilla memes funny. I find probably 95% of Godzilla memes to be really bad. That being said, Childish Landino shared this meme, and I'm sure most people look at this and go, oh, that's a dead meme. But I mean, at the time it wasn't, and even still it makes me laugh. Because it's so true, it's so true. It's so relatable. We can all relate to that. Actually, I probably would do that. Anybody who knows my senior quote knows I probably would do that. I don't know, man. I liked it. I thought that was pretty funny. I feel like Childish Landino usually posts good memes. Next up, Helm of the Ancient Lemon did a cover of King Kong vs. Godzilla's theme and made it a metal theme. This one goes out to you metalheads out there. I hope you all enjoy it. Pretty good cover. Figure Mania Show, Godzilla's #1 toy photographer, that's my opinion, released a couple pictures of Kong in chains, and I just gotta take a quick moment to compliment his use of depth and frame. I love the shallow focus here with the helicopters flying above Kong, and then this picture of Kong on the ship, it just shows massive scale. And the thing that I love about him, and maybe he doesn't do this all the time anymore, but for the most part, every single thing he does is 100% in camera. He uses in-camera tricks completely. Gojira03, thank you so much for making this D-Man Hollow Earth poster. I really appreciate it, and you know what? I'll be honest, I'd go buy a ticket to that movie. We can finally say that the tagline, "We need D-Man, the world needs him," is appropriate. This one's a big throwback. I hope you still remember this, but Shade Cushing a long time ago drew me a Godzilla 2014 picture, so I want to show it off here. Thank you very much. He did a good job. This one is just like the most me picture of all time. It was made by The Pathetic Bat on Reddit, and it is a Ben 10 Godzilla vs. Kong crossover of Humongosaur versus Ultimate Spider Monkey on the aircraft carrier. Now, I saw a lot of debate in the Ben 10 fandom about who would win in this fight, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I probably give the edge to Ultimate Spider Monkey here, because his argument is that Humongosaur can't go Ultimate because that's too similar to Mechagodzilla. So you're looking at a normal Humongosaur versus an Ultimate who is scaled up to his size, and if you pay close attention, you'd notice Humongosaur has already used his size growth powers, which means this is a scaled up Humongosaur. But we're scaling up an Ultimate Alien's powers to be on Kong level? I don't know, I think you could just web him up and then beat the snot out of him. That being said, regular sized Humongosaur versus regular sized Ultimate Spider Monkey, Humongosaur crushes that little ape. Lenny Romero released a Godzilla vs. Kong poster. It's a very cool one. I love the smoke coming off Kong here. Lenny is an incredible artist, one of the most talented and nicest people I have ever met. This is an incredible piece. I really love his smoke work here. It's truly amazing stuff. That's a really hard thing to do and make look this good. But yes, the whole piece is amazing. Same thing with Matt Frank's Godzilla vs. Kong final print. I love his use of neon colors, and I love the whole image overall. It is a very good one. It is not as nostalgic as the other one he released, which is a bit more 62 inspired, but this one is obviously more movie accurate. I always love his art style, and I love seeing these monsters in action. Tom Daw Art has a very versatile art style, so we'll quickly run through a bunch of prints that he released around this time. Starting off with a Godzilla vs. Kong Generations picture featuring King Kong vs. Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Kong all in Hong Kong. It looks incredible. His use of color is amazing. I love the scale shown here, and I love both of his iterations of Godzillas and Kongs. I would love to see that movie. He also released a Mechagodzilla Generations photo showing all the different Mechagodzillas, and still, I mean, you just look at this picture and you can immediately tell 74 is the best. For real. Kiryu's then the next one, and I guess I'd give the edge to Mechagodzilla 21 just because I don't really like that smooth little Heisei guy. Next up is his Godzilla and Kong vs. Mechagodzilla, which is again another incredible piece. His art style changes so much from picture to picture, you really could convince me this is 3 different artists, so great job for him. We'll show off another one of his prints in a minute that has a lot of range as well. Very different art style in that one. This one's just a masterpiece. I freaking love it. Gray Fuku released a Godzilla vs. Kong print of Godzilla charging at Kong. He released 2 different variations of it. One of them doesn't have the final color grade on it, but both of them are incredible. The art style is amazing. His use of color is amazing. The use of depth is amazing. All of it's great. I really, really love it. He also has some really great elemental pieces like the rain and the lightning, and even Kong with the fire. Looks awesome. One of my favorite artists, GNA, released a couple Godzilla vs. Kong pieces. He released one, which is Godzilla and Madison Russell. That's great. I love his use of blue, and I've always loved his art style. And then his next one was Kong and Gia, which is so cute. I really like that one. Look how happy Kong looks. He ended it off by releasing an incredible Mechagodzilla piece. I love the lightning. I love how scary Mechagodzilla looks. This one's great. And then we'll end off the art here with Tom Dodd Arts again. Oh man, this is my dream team up, and I love seeing how cute they are. Kong and baby Mothra, how adorable. I really want to see Kong and Mothra team up in a movie, and I love this piece. I think it's very sweet and innocent, and I love it. Motivapic Studio released a Godzilla vs. Kong size comparison on YouTube featuring all of the Godzilla sizes next to a bunch of Kongs. Now, I don't know what scale they're using for the Kongs. I think they're just throwing them in there just so you can see. Those Godzilla models look great. The Kong doesn't look like Kong at all, but the Godzilla models are fantastic. It's a really well animated piece, and it does do a pretty good job showing off the scale between Godzilla and Kong over the years and how they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Although I wish he zoomed out at the end so that we could see all of them next to each other, so that we can see the scale of all of them side by side, but it's still a great video nonetheless. Elon Musk loves Godzilla vs. Kong. He tweeted a glowing review for it, and I'm sure if I talked about this back when he did it, I'd have some nicer things to say about it, but nowadays I'm just like, hey Elon, why don't you try and run a good company? Apemex released some Godzilla vs. Kong coins. Apemex. Sounds awfully familiar to Apex. What are you guys hiding? They look alright. I think they're pretty neat. There was some HGD plus Godzilla vs. Kong releases in stores. I believe these are little blind bag releases. We talked about these before, but I do like them all. I just wanted to show that they have made their ways to stores. The August 2021 edition of Mad Magazine was a compilation of all of the previous Godzilla vs. Kong pieces. I actually was fortunate enough to grab one myself. I think it became very expensive. But it features comics and goofs from the 1960s all the way through 2014, when I believe they stopped making Mad magazines. So it's still a really great compilation, and it's highly worth it for collectors. It's also just worth it if you want a nostalgia trip. St. Johnny San on Twitter found the Godzilla Awaji Island, Godzilla Singular Point, Godzilla vs. Kong display. We'll talk about the SP display some other time. But the Godzilla Interception at Awaji Island exhibit released a giant Godzilla vs. Kong display that's really awesome. Not only does it feature the really cool side-by-side posters for Godzilla vs. Kong, but it features a nice display where you've got Godzilla and then you can pose as Kong for photos. Really great Godzilla statue. I think that's the 2019 statue, but it looks awesome here. And then you could buy stickers and stuff. They also had a full display featuring figures, concept arts, and a massive wall that would go over all of Monarch and all the different Titans, featuring concept arts and developmental details about all of them. Speaking of concept art, Kyle Brown's Warbat was revealed. This was one of the early concept developments for the Warbat, featuring a wildly different design. This one looks a lot more like Q the Winged Serpent, and it's very cool. I think it's very horrifying. I actually prefer the one we got. I'm very glad we got the design we got, but this one's incredible. I would love to see this Titan show up as a different Titan in the MonsterVerse. I think it's horrifying. I think it would be great to see fight Kong and especially Godzilla, and I love it. I think it's really, really neat. This version of the Warbat was featured in the art of Godzilla vs. Kong as well. Kyle Brown was a really good sport about not being picked as the Warbat designer for Godzilla vs. Kong. He actually tweeted out his congratulations to the actual guy who got his design picked. That man was Matt Millard, who revealed a different variation of the Warbat. Warner Bros. And Legendary wanted two different sexes, so there's male and female variants of the Warbat. It seems in Godzilla vs. Kong we only see female Warbats. I very much prefer the female design. It looks a lot more snake-like and a lot slimmer and scarier. The male design is a lot bulkier and a bit more dragon-like, but I do wonder if that means we're going to see male Warbats appear in the next MonsterVerse film, because they do have different variations designed for each. And I really like that Legendary does that. They of course did that for the Mutos as well, and it worked out great there. Matt Alsop 1's Doug concept art was revealed, and this one shows a bit bigger and a bit scarier of a Doug. This was obviously changed for the final cutesy design we see in Godzilla vs. Kong, but I really like this. I love all of this guy's concept art, and I love that he hues it all purple. It always looks very cool and distinct. I feel like in every single video we wind up talking about Junkie XL's giant bass drum, so let's do it one last time, hopefully. I hope I don't have to talk about this thing anymore. Junkie XL's 6-foot bass drum, he did an interview about it where he revealed that he wanted an 8-foot drum but was told it was impossible, so instead they set out to make a 5-foot monster drum, and it wound wound up actually being nearly 6 feet. The drum was recorded for samples for Godzilla vs. Kong, and this was paired with a 14-foot bass amplifier, which is the largest in the world, which created the soundtrack for Kong. There is some footage of Junkie XL going to sample this 14-foot bass amplifier. You can go check that out down below. TCL Chinese Theater shared some photos of the Godzilla vs. Kong reopening ceremony. They also showed a video of it being reopened, and it's just a really cute, wholesome event, and I think you guys should go check it out. It is one of the most important events in modern cinema history, and we don't talk about it enough, so I will always take any opportunity I can to mention that. That was held on March 29th, 2021. Jordan Vogt Roberts showed his gratitude and showed off a photo shoot done there that is really silly, really fun. It's all the MonsterVerse directors in this massive theater, and they take some good photos together. I love it. Kaylee Hottle was announced for Anime Matsuri 2021. I'm sure you guys all know that because I've made videos with her there. They're on the channel. You can go check them out. That was a really great time, and you will hear more about it later. When later? I don't know. Max Borenstein did an interview about the MonsterVerse, and he had some pretty interesting things to say. He says that he's kind of interested in having a story with limited humans. He says that Legendary is now entering its next MonsterVerse phase, and this phase is a wild card. Nobody knows what it holds just yet. He says that he would love to try and make a movie with limited human characters, as limited as possible. This would allow more time to flesh out the monsters. Of course, paired with Adam Wingard's statements, this would be something like 30% humans, and then the rest of the film is all monsters. I think that's too much monsters, and as we'll talk about in a little bit, that's just way too expensive as well, so I don't think it's a good idea, but hey, I mean, they're free to write whatever they want. Adam Wingard did an interview that's become pretty infamous where he talks about Godzilla not being able to show emotion in Godzilla vs. Kong. Apparently, Godzilla was mandated to not emote from Toho. Toho wants Godzilla to be nothing more than a force of nature, but Wingard was just subtle and clever enough to sneak in some references of genuine emotion for Godzilla that Toho approved and allowed it. For instance, Godzilla laughing at Kong during the ending, that was something that Toho knew of and was allowing because it was so subtle. He says that this is what he is most proud of. He is most proud that he was able to display some genuine emotion with both Godzilla and Kong, and that's what sets this film apart from other kaiju movies. We have a series of interviews done for Godzilla vs. Kong, one for Wingard, one for Rebecca Hall and Kaylee Hottle, and then one for Damian Bichir, so we'll run through those. In the Wingard interview, he says that one of the first things he ever wanted for this movie was for Godzilla to chase Kong around a neon futuristic city with his atomic breath, and that from there, the rest of the script developed, pitting the monsters against each other in exciting environments. The ocean battle was meant to play off the disadvantage Kong has in the ocean and the advantage Godzilla has against him, because Adam Wingard loves it when heroes are completely outmatched, like in Die Hard. Kong was never treated as a monster. He was approached as a friend and a character. That's so sweet. And he was always supposed to be the heart of the movie. In the Rebecca Hall and Kaylee Hottle interview, Rebecca Hall offered her advice on acting in a monster movie and said that as an actor, you have to prepare to feel very silly and very stupid, but you have to trust the process and know that in the end, it will look great. Kaylee Hottle then says she imagined acting against a giant ape, and the final result of Kong wasn't really far off from what she was picturing in her head the whole time. The Damian Bichir interview was actually the most interesting of the bunch in my opinion, and he said that he took the role of Godzilla vs. Kong because he found the characters to be very interesting. In particular, he really liked that Walter Simmons represented both the highest positives and highest negatives of humanity. He loved that Simmons has the power to affect genuine change and chooses to use it, but does so in a way that's a mix of both good and bad. And he doesn't really believe in good guys or bad guys. He believes that no one's really the bad guy of Godzilla vs. Kong. A quote that I really liked of his was when he says, "Sometimes monsters are monsters, but sometimes the monsters are only in your head, and that causes us to become monsters." I really like that idea. I really like the idea that Simmons views Godzilla as a monster, and that's what makes Simmons a monster. Finally, we have an interview from Adam Wingard in which he talks about the cost of the monster fights. You can go check this one out down below as well. Adam Wingard says that having the monsters in a shot is super expensive. Basically, 1 second of Godzilla is $30,000. So when I hear people saying that they're wanting a movie of 90% Godzilla, 100% Godzilla, ancient times, like a documentary, or like 30% humans and the rest is all monsters, $30,000 per 1 second of Godzilla. Now, he does say this doesn't break down in terms of legit math very frequently. Instead of being budgeted per second, they're budgeted in terms of shots. So a 1 second shot might cost the same as a 10-second shot, but it also might not. So they truthfully are budgeted in terms of shots, and then they start to make edits from there. What do they need to cut, and what can they show to get back on track until they can get the shots down to a number they can afford. He says that the VFX team loved doing different things, such as putting Kong in an environment where he has snow on him. Getting back to the whole idea of the Wingard cut, which just keeps coming back over and over and over again because people seem to think he hated the movie. I don't know, they just think that every director hates their film, which is actually something Wingard directly addresses in this interview, the idea that people believe directors have so much studio interference that they don't get to make the movie they want. Adam Wingard says that he loves the final product of Godzilla vs. Kong and would never revisit it to make a new version unless in maybe 20 or so years he was given permission to do a new sound mix on the movie. That's what he was interested in revamping, was the sound, not the picture itself. Adam Wingard says that the editor's longest cut was 2 hours and 45 minutes, but that his first cut was 2 hours and 15 minutes because he never wanted the film to pass 2 hours. He strongly believes that a director's cut should never be more than 15 minutes more than the original film, and although he says that there are some pretty major differences in the setup of the film in his director's cut, it's ultimately something he was very happy to lose to make the film as dense as possible. As I've said 100 times, and as he has said many times as well, his goal was to make dense entertainment, a true popcorn flick. And again, as we've talked about in the last video, his goal was to restructure the film so that the first 30 minutes wound up being what was chopped. That way the first 30 minutes could be as efficient as possible. He was asked if there is a full backstory for Kong's axe and throne room, and he said yes there is, and he fully intends on exploring it more if we ever get to do more MonsterVerse, which he is getting to do with Kong and Godzilla, so it looks like we're gonna get that backstory. Hopefully anyways. And then when he was asked why there's no post-credits scene, he says that the original edit of Kong in the Hollow Earth was the post-credits scene, and that it backed them into a corner. So they had to recut it and restructure it so that it goes at the end of the movie, doesn't show whatever backed them into a corner, and leaves them off in a much better way with more potential for the future. He didn't feel the need to do a post-credit scene because he doesn't feel the need to copy Marvel, which he is one of the few filmmakers who doesn't just go around trash talking other filmmakers. He has never showed any ill will towards Marvel. Even when he talks about the things he dislikes about BVS, he is talking very analytically and not about the filmmaking. So yeah, he says that the MonsterVerse shouldn't be trying to copy Marvel, it should be doing its own thing, and therefore it shouldn't feel the need to be restricted to post-credit scenes, which I agree with. Finally, he says that in development they played with more excessive versions of Kong shoving the axe into Godzilla's throat that more closely mirrored that Showa era scene. I would love to get that clip released. The extended clip of Kong shoving the axe down Godzilla's throat, that'd be great. Speaking of extended clips, to leave us off today, Thomas Lefevre, I don't know it, is an FX artist on Godzilla vs. Kong, released a scanline reel for Godzilla vs. Kong showing his VFX, which does feature some extended footage. There is a lot of extended shots in here, but I only want to talk about one in particular because it was the one that blew up. It is, of course, the aircraft carrier slap. He shows the full uncut clip of Godzilla and Kong slapping each other around on the aircraft carrier. This was blown up, shown all over the place. As I said, he does show a lot of different clips in here that have extended cuts by maybe 1 or 2 seconds, but that was the one that blew up. All right, that'll be that for this one, guys. Thank you all for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. They are keeping the channel running, and I really appreciate it. If you want to check out the Patreon, please consider doing so using the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. For the rest of you guys, I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.